Hi, welcome to the Literature Lounge, which is literally and totally dedicated to authors who write books that make great films and conversation starters. So let's just talk books. Hi, in today's episode, we have with us Dr. Pallavi Joshi, MBBS, DPM MD, and is an eminent neuropsychiatrist working in the field of mental health and has also been a corporate trainer, motivational speaker for the last 15 years. She's currently working with Manipal Hospitals, Bangalore, and Juno Clinic. Dr. Pallavi's goal is to destigmatize mental health and increase awareness about various mental health disorders that most people are very confused about so that people can talk openly about them and seek treatment as well. So, welcome, Pallavi, in today's episode.
Thank you. Thank you, Mohua.
So, could you just share with us what inspired you to choose psychiatry as your field of specialization and the challenges you've faced along the way? And how have these experiences shaped your work and approach towards mental health?
Yeah, it's a nice question. After MBBS, I had taken MD Gynac initially, and something what you really like to read and something what you like to do for rest of your life could be two different things. In internship, we get brief exposure to everything, but probably that's not enough to understand what we really want. So Gynac, I always love to read. I still like to read, but when I joined in 10-15 days, I realized possibly I probably don't want to do this for the rest of my life. And I have great honor for obstetricians and gynecologists who really do a lot of fantastic work. But somehow I just realized possibly this is not for me, this is not my track. So I remember from Mumbai, I ran to Nagpur, to my hometown, without even reservation at that time in train. And I was taken to psychiatrist because of continuous crying and confusion. So I remember he helped me a lot immensely in Nagpur. And what question really fundamentally shaped my decision to take psychiatry? He asked me one question: which disorders you never want to touch you? Okay. And I remember answering him mental disorders. Okay, I don't want them to touch me. Then he told, you like to write, you like to speak. Don't you think you want to work in this area where there is really a dearth of psychiatrists and mental health care provider in India? Possibly I thought yes, if I was searching where is the need and where I can put my heart and soul. And that was a turning point, what I feel. Later, if you ask about the challenges, I was throughout a good student, topper. And when I took this subject, now psychiatry closes in first 50, but that was not the scene at that time. My parents were extremely supportive, but my other family members, out of ignorance, not that they were not with me also. They were like, which subject did she choose for, specialization and why? And people didn't know anything about psychiatry at that time, or this is the branch, where people who are mad should go. Okay. And lot of stigma was attached, lot of ignorance was there. What used to break my heart to see, people were not happy in their life, but still they were not open to visit a psychiatrist or any mental health care provider for that matter to change them. Then in 3 years, what I typically say made me a better human during MD, because many a times, what happens is small infirmities in life we call problems, or we typically say these are issues in my life, they make me depressed. When I saw people from all zones in my MD, and we used to see 150 to 200 patients together, 10 residents every day, we realized that how much blessed we were, and I was always thankful that they opened their world towards me. So if you ask, from the terrorists to prostitutes to all section of people, some problems they could share with somebody, some they could not, and they're still open. So definitely, I personally felt, I'm blessed. I developed positive approach towards life. And if you ask, what it changed to see how my vision got changed or how my approach got changed, we realized that we need to work towards stigma one. Secondly, a lot of psychiatrists started calling them nowadays as manovikas rather than calling manovikartam. Like, we don't want to treat only illnesses, but there is a term called positive psychiatry. So we need to focus more on resilience and mental health for all. So gradually the approach got changed from illnesses to wellness mode as a continuum. And if you ask, is the better human being at the end realized everyone has that, nice part, what we typically call it, a good spot in their mind. Probably it's the job of a doctor to amplify those feelings, gratefulness, and positivity towards life.
Amazing, Pallavi. Pallavi, you know what? Your book, Fast But Lost, it focuses on depression in urban India, and it's a topic very close to my heart because I don't think I've felt more lonelier as a person than I feel off late in my life. And I've seen my parents, because they're displaced people, they moved cities, how lonely they felt. And loneliness can become a huge cause for feeling sad, feeling isolated. So what does your book basically talk about, in urban India and depression, which of course we have the access to mental health specialists, but we can't articulate mostly, that what is it, that is it really depression, or is it just a phase and that's going to pass away, and then eventually it shows up, as health issues in our body. So just tell me a little bit, what made you write about this?
Yeah. Uh, I'll give credit to Rupa Publications, okay, for asking me to write, because this was not my idea to write the book, but I was a regular writer for multiple newspapers. So what happened? I had written an article for Economic Times, and I had written almost two-thirds of the private sector employees are depressed, okay, in corporates. Their commissioning editor had called me to write a book on urban depression. So it was not basically my idea, but definitely we developed it eventually. What we can write about it, because there was so much to talk. And we started writing because if you ask about, in corporates, as you stated correctly, a lot of times instability is there where we keep on moving places. The demands of life are a lot, and what we say, typically what we had mentioned, there was a big ASOCHAM study which found 47% of people have depression and 23% of the people have anxiety, which was alarmingly high thing. Plus, sleep issues, you ask, almost all of us go through at some point of time in busy city life. So, depression can happen in rural setup, I don't deny, but the protective factors are a lot over there, okay? The family is not nuclear most of the time over there. There's a lot of leisure time, me time over there, which we don't have here. And what we say now, there are other protective factors like better resources, better measures for coping rather than just turning to social media. So, depression in urban life is way more common, way more taxing. And much more important part is, it's often unrecognized. The motivation to write this book was I have seen people living in months, years, or for life together without recognizing they need help. Okay, so sometimes we call them, the people, he's like rooted, he's never happy in life. But without recognizing this is curable and they can claim their life, they can do best in their life. And we have seen people, who do really good once they recognize and once they take some, positive action to overcome this. So main motive was awareness, what is there which is seriously lacking. And secondly, what we typically say, understanding the difference between sadness and depression, what is normal, what is not normal, and when you need the help.
Amazing. In your book, you also address special challenges like maintaining a work life balance that seems like really impossible, and dealing with dissatisfactory relationships both seem impossible to me. So, can you just share some practical strategies for our listeners, to manage these sort of challenges that can be so overwhelming?
Yeah, yeah. So, I'll just quickly give few things. Rest all are mentioned in book as protective factors for depression. How can we be more resilient? So, what happens when we don't handle this? These are few of the risk factors, what we could say. If somebody having poor work-life balance for longer period of time due to stress, due to overworked feeling, due to, sense of getting chaos or overwhelm, they can develop depression. Or relationship, yes, COVID proved we are here because of our relationships, because of our relatives. So definitely it's source of strength, but if not handled properly, in which we see many times happening in city life, yeah, they could be the harbingers for depression. So coming to point work life balance, what I seriously feel, managing the time is very important. So we follow that Eisenminger's matrix. Okay, things we have to do which are urgent and important. Okay, having a deadline, please finish it. Something which is what we typically say important but not urgent. This we typically say decide when you want to do. Your passport got expired, you wanted to learn driving. Something what we say, which is very urgent but not important. Okay, delegate. So somebody who can do it for you, like maybe ironing your clothes, maybe dropping a courier, and not urgent, not important. Maybe spending time on e-commerce websites, maybe on social media. So we say, delete as far as possible. If we manage this properly, a lot of time is left for some one quadrant which is not mentioned here, the things which you really like to do, one part. And second, what we say now, as we proceed further, we should know, work-life integration more than balance. Okay, how are we going to do? Because many companies are allowing now work from home. So what we typically say, the integration here is very, very important. After COVID, they discovered they can do, which is a boon in its way, but again, the boundaries are not respected when you are working from home. So what we typically say, when the work-life integration is happening, decide what balance is really required. So that requires just focusing on day. So planning the day ahead really saves a lot of things. Third thing, what we say in work-life balance is learn to say no. Okay, most of us, we are poor in saying that, and we end up in dragging ourselves in directions where we really cannot focus. Okay, where we cannot do. Fourth, really important, me time. So if any one of you have visited, the viewers, what I'm asking, Grand Hyatt Goa, I recently visited, after many months I took a leave. So there is a bell just before the beach comes, okay, a big bell with a frame. And I like the concept a lot. What they say, ring it and pause it for a while. Okay, this pause is very important in life, what they mentioned, to appreciate what life is all about, to reflect on life, and to understand, what should be the pace henceforth. So this learn to say no and take pause is very important. Me time is very important, what you need to do. And serious, understanding our strengths and weaknesses, that can actually manage, save our time to a very, very good extent. So for about work-life balance, these few things. And relationships, most important, none of the relationship thrive on expensive gifts, exotic vacation, but they thrive on only one thing, and that is communication. Okay, so finding the time to communicate is the crux. So with the people you consider is really important in life, normally we suggest to spend minimum 20 minutes uninterrupted. What we mean by that, no gadgets. You are looking at mobile, typing a message, or looking at TV, and then you are communicating with your spouse or child will not work. 15 to 20 minutes uninterrupted time is something very, very important. Secondly, what we say now, our dinners, family dinners, were very welcoming concept in India. It's like, you are going back to your roots, so spending time with each other, it's not only about food sharing. It's like we are sharing how the day was. That also is very important. When we talk about, relationship and spouse part, we always say, it's like the way you are cooking the meal. Okay, what you add, the taste you get. So when we are focusing on other person, we should focus on ourselves also, what we can do. Third thing, what we say, choose your battles wisely in relationship. For every petty thing, if we keep on, struggling hard, it's not going to be the perfect thing, because no relationship is perfect. So decide what you really want to stress if you want this relationship to get better. What we typically say, if work-life balance is continuously getting into a problem or relationship, it's good idea to consult a mental health care provider who can throw the light from a third perspective. Okay, and if required, then we can take therapy or medications if we find somebody is heading towards depression because of these stresses. Yeah.
Amazing. So you've also used stories and case studies in your book, to help readers understand
Yeah.
depression.
Yeah.
Can you share one such story that had a very profound impact on you as a professional?
Yeah, yeah. No, I'll share one story, but when it comes to psychiatry, I feel each person comes with a different story. No two stories are alike. We may see similarities, but what happens? I seriously feel if the walls of psychiatrist chambers start talking, they will possibly talk about the things which may surprise normal people like us. What people go through, and we don't even come to know what they are going through. So one story what I would share, it was the residency time story when I was doing my MD. At the time, a new drug was coming in India for the depression, and I was working on the trial of drug trial. So I was enrolling a few patients, and we used to put heart and soul at that time. There was no time dearth at that time. So I tried my level best 3, 4 times to talk with this patient, and every time he used to give me very brief answers. Looking at his, cold eyes, I thought, I have lost this battle, I cannot overcome it. And after taking the medicines for a few weeks, I remember one day he came to me and told, Madam, I like to talk with you. And I was very glad, took him inside the private chamber. At the time, we used to sit all together in OPD room. And he told me, Ma'am, I'm a terrorist of Ulfa. Okay. And I thought is this really a depression or psychosis? Is the patient going for madness and imagining the things like, he's terrorist? But when I went through his subject, I realized he was really a terrorist, okay, of Ulfa. And he explained, the way you consider it probably is not bad and how he entered. And there was a sad story behind that. He thought that he was imprisoned, not for so true reason. And later, he went in Ulfa considering it will help his own people. Now, what happened as he became a criminal? He ran to Mumbai, where I was doing my MD, and he was staying away from his family. He was staying away from Ulfa. He was running away from police also. And he was ideally, what really shook me at that time, I should have hated this person for whatever he has done. But once you become a doctor or more so of a psychiatrist, your judgmental power gets totally lost. I remember I tried my level best to help this person. He came out of depression. Something great happened later. He surrendered to police. They took him for the social reform. Now he's leading a very respectable life. So what we typically say now, what lesson I learned possibly, we should not be judgmental towards what we easily become. And when we think about such situation, I always feel if we put ourselves in their shoes, I may not say that we'll do exactly the same, but possibly similar lines. So this is a lesson, possibly, what psychiatry teaches, that everyone has a story. The law works differently. It is there for civilization. When we talk about psychiatrists, possibly it helped me becoming less judgmental and better human being towards it. So I'm deeply grateful for this patient and the work what he is doing. We are allowed to share stories without disclosing the names, but he is doing a great work towards social reform as of now. So I feel blessed as a doctor. What we saw later from a terrorist transformation, we say na Valya to Valmiki, from sinner to a saint. So that transformation is possible for each one of us, and nobody is saint over here, nobody is sinner. We all have done simple things in life, and the weight what we carry of it is something not really great, which doesn't allow us to function normally. So what I personally feel, psychiatrists can help in that also, dealing with past, dealing with your worries, and helping you becoming a better person.
What are the common myths that about depression that you've addressed in your book?
Yeah. So, depression is a commonest myth, what we typically say. Any person who is coming to us, they always say, my parents say, can't you handle this much? Are you a weak person to visit a psychiatrist? Mental health issues or the problems, they do happen to everyone. What is the need to consider? Become strong. Okay. So the commonest myth is depression happens to mentally weak people. In fact, it's the other way around. What we say, sometimes it happens to people who have been too strong for too long period of time. Okay. And just it has nothing to do with your weakness. In fact, we say you're too much time when you allow the stressor to occur, without allowing it to just take a rest, you may go for a breakdown. Secondly, what we say now, men don't get depressed. This is again the commonest myth, because many times I ask my male clients, why did it take so much time to reach to me? So they say societal attitude, the typical mard ko dard nahi hota, men don't get the pain. But what is the reality? It's true that females are more prone for depression due to their hormones, due to learned helplessness, due to societal expectations, no doubt about that, due to our biology of the brain also. But men do get depressed, no doubt about that. And sometimes it represents in different way, like more reckless driving, more addictions, more irritation. But they do get depressed and they also need help. Third thing, what we say now, the commonest myth about depression, once you start taking antidepressant, it's forever. Okay, so nothing is forever in plain depression. People don't have to take the medicine forever. I have taken antidepressants after my delivery. I have not taken it beyond 6 to 8 months. But this happens, most of the people consider it's forever. No, it's not forever. There are certain psychiatric illnesses like schizophrenia, bipolar, like diabetes, like blood pressure, that you have to take medicine forever, but not for plain single onset depression. Second thing, they feel that medicines make you fall asleep, or they are habit forming. Not really. If taken under medical supervision, nothing is habit forming. There are some antidepressants which induce the sleep, because sleep is often disturbed in depression, and that's why we prefer them. But there are some antidepressants which people should know are actually stimulating. They can put you in better mode also. So they can increase your focus, reduce retardation. So there are many such myths, and we have answered this in book in two sections, what depression is all about, and some myths and facts about depression treatment as well. Okay, so they are also mentioned in detail in the book.
Let's just talk about depression in children, which is a really growing concern. And, one is just horrified to hear about suicides among young school going children. And so, how do parents and educators really identify and address this? I mean, this is really a concern.
So you know what we typically say, how to identify. Yeah, there, there, there requires a crux because child may or may not be telling that they are going through depression. So any changes in their behavior, okay, we will just categorize. The children who are less than 6 7 year old may not actually tell that I'm depressed, but how you can observe if their play signifies some depressed thing, when you are playing with toys and you can see they're talking something sad, something depressed, that is one way. If their sleep is getting disturbed, and very important thing, less than 5 6 year old, we have seen when trauma happens to them, like change of place, or if their parent dies, okay, they go through depression, and many times they don't say anything, but what do? They start urinating in the bed. Okay, that start happening. So first child who has been dry for very long started urinating. But what we say regression? Regression means he is trying to go back to 2 years prior, 3 years prior behavior, like crawling or talking like a baby. That's an indication you need to talk to psychiatrist. Now older children, what happens? Performance pressure is a lot nowadays. One thing, they have access to media. Okay, from a very early age group, they don't develop the coping strategies. What they really need to develop. In fact, they rely for their entertainment, for their information, for everything on social media. Nuclear family setup, when both parents are working due to the need, sometimes paying attention to kids becomes little difficult. So, these are some of the stress factors what kids go through. And what we say, how are you going to watch? So, minimum period of 2 weeks. 2 weeks is the timeline what we always say. Beyond 2 weeks or minimum 2 weeks, if you see your child's sleep is disturbed, he's looking very agitated, okay, low, difficulty in focusing is there, giving lot of back answers, or crying, what you typically see, expressing the feelings that he is very lonely, helpless, hopeless. What we say, difficulty in performing in socio-occupational activities, like either he is not the same person acting in kids group like his play group or at home, or you see the consistent fall in the grades. Okay, then possibly it's a need to talk. What parents need to understand, sometimes the depression in this age group may exhibit differently. A child may not just cry but get very arrogant, or sometimes drive recklessly, sometimes try to indulge on alcohol. Okay, so typically the teenage depression may not have the course like adult depression where one expects somebody is crying, but they may become actually more agitated, more adamant, more reckless. And when we go through their history, these things come out. Also the intolerable anxiety, the child is getting anxious for every little thing, also is an indication you should talk to us.
So, what about pornography? Exposure to pornography at a very young age that affects the mental health of children, and especially with the access of social media. And my goodness, I mean, thank God I raised my son when there was no Instagram, or at least I didn't know about it. And I had this very very small phone that did not have anything at that time, and I somehow feel that matlab bach gayi main, because a lot of parents are also under pressure when they're raising children, running a home, and they give them the mobile phone to just get their own little peace of mind for a while, right? So just talk a little bit about pornography and why it is to be really monitored.
Look, I don't remember her name, but the Grammy Award winner singer, okay, she had mentioned that how watching pornography inadvertently, okay, in her childhood caused her to develop nightmares, and it disturbed her perception about the intimacy entirely, okay. And there was a big interview which she had published, I think, 2 3 years back. And what I remember really, a child's mind, how they perceive. Okay, it's not mature enough to comprehend what is happening. One point. So, second thing, what happens, rather than considering intimacy or what we say the sexual intercourse as something intimate process or emotional process of bonding, they may consider it it's a process of just dopamine rush. Okay, what is shown, the momentary pleasure, what is shown in pornographic website. They may develop the ideas which are not realistic. Okay, and comprehending them at that age, the brain is not mature enough to understand. What it understands is the feel good thing. just the dopamine rush, what happens after watching something. They may deviate from, the healthy habits of coping, healthy habits of engaging in something better, and may get into, something just for momentary rush. It may reduce the productivity. They are not able to, they don't develop the healthy coping mechanisms. And children who are less than 10, if by chance they see the pornography, what we have seen, they comprehend intimacy is something a violent act. Okay, they don't understand what is happening exactly. And we have seen the children go through a lot of trauma at that point of time. They have difficulty in maintaining adult relationships, and they don't understand this is something related to emotion. So, require a lot of therapy, a lot of medication sometimes for establishing the healthy, intimate relationship later. So, what we typically ask, parents, please have a proper privacy setup for your laptops, for your gadgets. And secondly, and we have cyber experts who explain them. Secondly, erasing history, most of the children do, please don't allow. And third, again, the communication part. What we say, even if child sees something inadvertently, or when the kids talk in their group, something what they have watched or something, they should be open enough to talk with parents. So that helps them. That actually help children a lot in understanding this. But prevention is the best option. Exposure in not so appropriate age. We can save a lot if we prevent it. Prevent the exposure itself in inappropriate age, so that the treatment measures could be prevented.
Absolutely agree with you, Pallavi. So let's just talk a little bit about schizophrenia, which is a psychiatric disorder that causes disturbances in thinking, behavior, emotions, and, it does affect children and adults too. So what can they do to, help them? Because I think even to recognize schizophrenia, it takes time. Most people kind of don't understand this entire split personality, if I were to use the word. So if you can just share a little more insights into this.
Yeah. Look, split personality in psychiatry we don't call to schizophrenia, because there is a concept called vertical shift and horizontal shift. So split personality is more of dissociative disorder. Watch movie Bol Bulaiya, they have depicted it very well. What Vidya Balan was awesome. Like I really feel they have done a lot of study. Okay, so that is actually the split personality dissociative disorder. It's exceptionally rare. In my career of so far, 16 years, I have not seen a single case of split personality. But schizophrenia, yeah, what we typically say, 1%, like in 100 people, there will be 1 to 2 people with schizophrenia. It's very common. And as stated, common in both older adults as well as teenagers. Young children, if you ask, if they develop schizophrenia before the age of 12 years, that is called VEOs, very early onset schizophrenia. Uh, that has some organic origin. Like if you do the scanning of their brain, you will see some changes. But what happens, as you stated correctly, to identify becomes difficult. So, in teenage, as opposed to popular belief, schizophrenia means you are hearing the voices, or you are suspecting somebody's behind me, somebody's talking about me, somebody's conspiring against me. That doesn't happen in teenage. How a teenage child will present with schizophrenia? Simple schizophrenia is something what starts. They just change in the personality. They just change their personality. They can gaze at mirror for hours together. They can just gaze near the wall for hours together. Sometimes they just smile or do this kind of gestures to them, but no obvious delusions or hallucinations seen. And what happens, most common, what parents need to be vigilant, if you feel your child is struggling to make statements where he used to write essays earlier, that itself is a sign, he's not able to talk or write, for early onset schizophrenia, which happens less than 18. For adult schizophrenia, the commonest thing to present is delusion. That is the first time symptom where everyone will have of reference that you are talking about me without evidence or somebody is behind me. Not getting adequate sleep, not taking self-care. So first stage of schizophrenia, paranoid, where people will feel somebody is suspicious. They are suspicious about other people's things. Undifferentiated, second stage of schizophrenia, where they are not having a lot of suspiciousness, but you can obviously make out something is wrong with that person. Like, they will not talk the way we are talking, and they will look at zero or stare for nothing for a long period of time, not able to function. The third stage, what we say disorganized schizophrenia, the vagabonds on the street. What happens? They leave the house, they throw stones inappropriately, they smile. That stage usually doesn't arise if people take medicines on time. But yes, it's one of the major psychiatric disorder, and awareness is seriously required to recognize it. But these are few points, if we consider we can possibly help somebody, our viewers can also help somebody if they feel it's possibly schizophrenia. Just a consultation is required. The diagnosis is quite easy for a psychiatrist.
So, Pallavi, let's just talk about the corporate world, and you've obviously been a motivational speaker and have gone spoken in many, many MNCs. So, how has this experience, shaped your understanding of mental health issues, especially for people who are today really struggling only for success, success, and more success? And I think that's what defines, corporate life. And like you spoke about being in a city, being in an urban setup, how do you address this? It seems so huge, Pallavi, to me. So, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the book is all about that fast but lost, as what you told. We are possibly running for something, and we are losing something very precious, which we understand maybe some years later. So what we typically say in corporate world, yes, I'm thankful for the growth what they are causing for our civilization. All major MNCs, they are giving the employment to people, which is really required. But at the cost of, something always comes with the cost. The way we say, if something you are valuing, something what you don't want also comes forward. So what we see, most of the people in corporate world, where I work as a trainer, I do two aspects. One, talks, regular talks for them. And secondly, treatment, wherever it's indicated. The counselors, what they do is the part of counseling. And what I do, more the medication part, more sort of suggestion part. So what we have seen, most of them have sleep issues because not only of this the shifting schedules, but sometimes because of deadlines, sometimes getting too preoccupied with the work which is coming. Smoking is a major concern, what we typically say, because most of the time they don't get time for healthy coping strategies. So, indulging on alcohol or smoking quite often is other issue, what we say. Third thing, what we have seen, depression, again, not diagnosed, because most of the time they consider it's a phase and it will go. Okay. So, if you still ask how much is the awareness, until and unless referred by EAP, Employees Assistance Program, directly reaching psychiatrist is very rare. Okay. And fourth, what we typically say with these people, what is going around, they disturb family relationships. So, when you go behind something, the work-life balance is thoroughly disturbed for most of them. And I'm thankful to most of the MNC, they are putting effort. Like, when they engage us as corporate trainer, they know what is happening, what preventive measures they can take, what curative measures they are taking. So I personally feel, corporates are the major stakeholders when you talk about, growth of our nation, as well as when you talk about, most of the uh, productive people, most of the people who are in 25 to 50 are employed with them. So yes, that's one of the major chunk where more studies are required, if you really say scientific studies, to go ahead and talk about it. But this is little bit of, my 2 cents, what I possibly gain out of this practice and working with them.
So, Pallavi, let's also talk about social media. And I myself am a victim. I will constantly scroll, and I often feel so guilty about it. And I speak on behalf of so many of us who are really coping up with the stresses in our lives. On Sundays when I feel extremely lonely, I can spend hours just scrolling. How can I adopt, a healthy balance, and how can all our listeners adopt a healthy balance with social media usage?
Just few tips. We all go through it, and just a conscious awareness usually helps. So one thing, many apps come with the timers. Okay, like Instagram has a timer. If we know that seriously helps. Second thing, to my social media addict patients, we ask them to maintain a diary. That is called, gadget diary. So they should mention how much time they spent. Okay, just 3 days, watch it. After that, what we say, reduce 15 to 20 minutes every week. Not that, 1 hour, 2 hours, something like that. 15 to 20 minutes every week you need to reduce so that the total time gets reduced. What is the logic of reducing 15, 20 minutes? Particularly young generation, snatching the mobile away from them or, just shouting at them, it will cause a rebound. If you slowly take away the time, reduce the time, it will not cause a rebound. One. Second thing, uninstalled and not needed apps because they keep on sending a lot of notifications to you. Or we open it to close it and something suggestively shown to us and then we end up investing more. Third thing, what we typically say now, unfollow the people, who put you down. Okay. If you just feel that following somebody just for your sake of peace of mind is putting you down, is not making you feel good, nothing should matter beyond your happiness, just decide that. What we typically say, the social media, nobody shows their sad face. It's all about there is no market for your sadness. So everyone shows their, happy face. Okay. So please don't go after that, that everyone is so happy and people feel that why I'm so unhappy. That is not like that. Otherwise, people would not have come to us. Fourth thing, what we typically say, don't decide your worth on the basis of social media followers. Okay, don't decide your worth on the basis of likes. This is typically for teenagers because they decide their sense of self-worth, self-esteem because of this. Fourth, little planning is required, but for weekend, particularly the social media is binge something what they do. So out of 2 days, if you're getting as a weekend, half they plan something, a real life thing. It could be, just going for a trek. It could be visiting an orphanage. It could be, going to old age home where we should see what real life is all about and uh, do with our families also. Also, we can decide some no mobile zones in the home, like maybe in prayer room, in the bedroom. And don't do this as a first thing when you get up in the morning or last thing when you go to bed. Because many times the sleep gets disturbed because of the social media stories and the blue light. So these few things we can try.
You conducted a program Already in My Heart, Someday in My Arms in association with infertility centers. Can you tell us a little more about this program?
I personally had my child after 6 years of my marriage, okay? And even my mother had conceived me quite late. So she had shared some stories, and when I went through the pain of conceiving the kid late, uh, I could understand a lot of things have taken a toll. Like my socialization, because everyone used to ask this question, when are you going to give us the news? Second thing I remember, when all around me were getting conceived and I was not, I used to feel, is there some problem with me? Why this is not happening? Third thing, taking a toll that how to take leaves and attend this, treatment sessions, what is really required. Fourth thing, sometimes I used to get irritated, I used to cry. It used to create problem between me and my spouse. And how we resolved that we understood, and what we started doing in program and what I conceptualized. When people go through infertility, it's at the peak of life. Most of them are in the age group of 30 to 40. And that's the precious life, so many responsibilities you have. And for many people with the diagnosis of infertility, life comes to pause. Okay, they don't go for vacations, they start saving the money for the treatment. Third thing, intimacy takes a toll. Fourth thing, what we typically say, socialization doesn't happen. And as I fondly say in my program also, I have mentioned this in my book also, where conception actually happens. Somebody will say boom, but no, for infertility patient it happens in the mind, because where all kinds of pain is perceived, they carry the unborn kid, the unconceived kid from the moment they are planning the pregnancy for years together. So for all this tiring journey where the outcome is not promised, whether you are going to get the baby or not, it's still unclear. So at that time, what is really required, your mental health should be at place. And I still have so many patients, once they feel their feelings are validated, they know what actually they are feeling. Sometimes it may not be so pleasant. Okay. And then they require the help. And many times we give the medicines with the help of, infertility specialists. They are quite okay for that. The outcomes are better because stress and infertility is a vicious cycle. Okay. Both influence each other. And actually better outcomes are there when their mental health is taken care of. So we do that in the program. Also, we have support group where they discuss among each other what problem they are facing and how they are coming out. People discuss about their relaxing schedule. They discuss about alternate treatment parts also, acupressure, yoga, and it helps them. They also feel some confidence to talk about. Okay, so this is usually the function.
And lastly, what advice would you give to someone who's struggling with mental health issues, but they feel very shy and hesitant to seek help?
Nice question, and possibly uh, everyone should know about this. So what we typically say, your diagnosis doesn't define you, your courage defines you. Okay, so speak up, because this is really important. Your illness doesn't define you, your courage defines you, what kind of person you are. Asking help actually is a sign of strength, it's not a sign of weakness. Weak person will never ask for the help. It's a sign of strength that you are asking help. Yes, I require it. And diagnosis of depression, it happens earlier, it can save a lot of time, energy, it can save a lot of productivity. Okay, so we have to do it very much on time. And what is most important, I personally feel, uh, your story could be inspirational for somebody else. Okay, the way I was telling story of my this terrorist patient, or I have written story of my n number of patients, in different walks of life, people are able to relate with that. Okay, so what I personally feel, if you are open enough and take the treatment and share it, whether you want to share with your name or anonymously, there are n number of people who are walking your path. They will feel, more confident. They will get the help on time, which possibly, you could be one of the source of strength. So what we say, break the pattern, break the stigma, come forward and talk about it, and that is going to save a lot. And I'm very thankful, by the way, for the celebrities, okay, who have taken a lot of effort to come forward and tell their diagnosis openly. Our Bollywood as well as Hollywood, the people who are working in different parts of life, cricketers, then other sports people. So please, we are all important. We have got only one life, and we should not spend in depression. What we typically say, ups and downs, yes, more than welcome. But if you feel you are having difficulty in functioning for consecutive 2 weeks, please come forward, and it's sign of big courage. Okay. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Pallavi, for being on my podcast today. Thank you so much for being on our podcast today. And it is so, heartwarming to know that you have gone through so many of these experiences. And for all our listeners, whoever has, they hesitate to talk about any of these issues, they can reach out to you and come and meet you in person if they are in Bangalore, and making it so much more easier for us to understand that it is not a stigma and we are not alone.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Mohua ji. Thank you for
Thank you.
calling
Thank
me
you.
over here. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Pallavi. Thank you for tuning into the Literature Lounge, which is an all year round dual literature festival dedicated to writers across the globe. You can get in touch with us via LinkedIn or DM us at our Instagram page, The Mohua Show. Or you can also email us at hello@themohuashow.com to discuss your books and also meet authors you haven't yet met at the Literature Lounge.